Welcome back to all our attendees, everyone who's listening. Just Suresh, who shared their inputs in HR transformation and fintech. Uh, this session is unscripted. What it means is we haven't discussed about what everyone is going to talk. But if you've been following me, my company, Confexco, or our events under business transformation and operational excellence, you will know that we always talk about people, process, and technology. We like to share expert views, experiences from individuals who comes from North America, Europe, Asia, and they share their experience with our audience. This is exactly what we'll be doing now. So this panel discussion will talk about people, process, technology, and then we'll dig a bit more deeper in individual experiences that our expert panelists are bringing. We will talk about their journey. We will talk about technology, the evolution of technology. We'll touch about different aspects of digital transformation, like business model transformation. So we'll check if your current business model makes sense. We'll talk about process transformation, how you can update your everyday business processes. And of course, in the end, it all boils down to people transformation, which will lead to the organizational transformation. So this is what we'll cover. And within that, we will go technical. We will talk about how within digital transformation, we'll talk about data, automation, AI, leadership engagement, and cost effectiveness of our technology. So this is what we're going to cover through this session. Let me start off by let's say we are in the future, say in 2030, and we are asking Alexa, find me the nearest phone booth. Alexa may say, sure. What's a phone booth? Imagine the situation where we haven't fed Alexa the data or the knowledge of what is a phone booth. So let's start with that note, where I want to highlight the importance of data collection, importance of understanding the touch points in data before we move in a transformation journey. So my question is to Shachi. Let's start with you. The importance of data is what I want you to highlight based on your experience, your journey, your work with Python, your work with SQL, your work with a lot of data sets. So before we take any project in transformation, what senior leaders should look for when it comes to data?
Thank you for the question, Imran. I really appreciate it. An example that comes to mind is something that I recently read about Google, specifically when it comes to like forecasting the weather. As we all know, if you open your phone right now, try to forecast the weather for the next couple of days, it's not very accurate, irrespective of the application that you use. Just highlighting us how far Google has gotten, what they did was they fed the data from 2012 to 2017 into their model. And what they are claiming is that they're able to predict the weather in 2018 quite accurately based on the models that they're using to predict the weather. It's an interesting use case because as opposed to like HR or financial services, it impacts our daily lives. It impacts what shoes I'm going to wear. It impacts if I'm going to take an umbrella out, what am I going to be cold, hot? So it's very interesting to see how far they've gotten to predict the weather. I do see the importance of data collection here because obviously the weather from 2012 to 2017 is a known element. We know what the weather was, and being able to predict the weather in 2018 again is a known element. We know what the weather was like in 2018. So we know the importance of data collection. We are able to test our models more accurately, given that the data between 2012 and 2017 was fed into the model accurately. So it's great to see how far they've come, and I can't wait to see what it holds for our future.
Great example there. I mean, see, this is exactly why we do these discussions, because I mean, I could have created a scripted AI model, which, like a podcast and something, AI could talk about the same thing, but will not he will or he or she or whatever AI model I created will not be able to share this insight. This is your personal experience. That's what we want to bring. I want to ask Suresh, on the same note. Now, when it comes to even cultural transformation, HR transformation, data set is important. So, do you have any experience that you would like to share on data? You're on mute, Suresh.
About that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you can see, right? I mean, great example about the weather, right? In general, the data collection is important, but I'm going to give a slightly different note here, right? Right now, the data is free flowing everywhere, right? I mean, previously, 5 years before, we don't have technology to capture all of this. Right now, with knowledge graphs and continuous investment in all this data technologies, you have all the data. I mean, if you think about it, GPT and Claudes have pretty much indexed the internet, right? I mean, there are now talks saying that, okay, gone are those days where people say that I don't have enough data. You have all the data now, right? But how do you make sense of all of this, right? I mean, that is where the research is right now. You have all the data, and how do you, make it use case specific? That's where the current research is. And from the HR standpoint, one example that I can give is at Eightfold, at particularly Eightfold. What we did is, there are we collected all this unemployment data from United States, and we kind of tried matching them with Eightfold algorithms to industries who are looking for good talent. We started with a simple use case called veterans. So what we did was, there are a lot of veterans who are not able to find the right jobs for their talent. So we collected this, we fed this to our AI algorithms, and we helped enterprise hire these veterans. And there were more than 10,000 veterans who were able to find right talent, and they got their jobs with the help of Eightfold platform. Right, that's the power of AI. So AI can basically do the unthinkable.
Absolutely valid point. And without that data of veterans, and without the understanding of what was their experience, what they could do in their life, whether they're technically sound, understanding all these touch points, which is data essentially,
Exactly.
it was not able to match with the right profile. So
Yeah,
yes, bringing back to the importance of understanding data. Yes, collecting data and understanding it, analyzing it, and that's when the next step happens, which could be automation, which could be decision making, which could be planning for a better experience for your customers, which could be shortening your customer journey. It could be, there could be multiple use cases. So let's talk about automation, or the use of technology to utilize the data. The next step in what are the different use cases. One you can say, I'm sure you've heard of a lot of dad jokes, right? So there was one which I really like, which somebody had shared on LinkedIn. He said, a computer once beat me at chess, but it was no match for me at kickboxing. So right. So this was interesting. It was funny. I liked it because we're talking about digital transformation, we're talking about computer, we're talking about data and its use cases. So I thought this is a great one which stuck in my head. So I thought I'll share it with everyone. So this is something, I mean, unless you understand what it does and what's its use case, what's the use of it, right? So let's dig a bit more deeper. Now, say we have analyzed the data and we want to use it. Most of the senior leadership want to make use of it and generate revenue. This always comes up. Okay, fine. We have spent so much. We've analyzed the data. How can we make money out of it? This is a question in every boardroom, in every senior leadership meeting. So to answer that, AI is there, no doubt. Let's take one step back from AI. Now we have analyzed it. What are the different ways? I would like to ask Shachi on this. Say, in your experience, it could be in any at any point in your career. Was there a point where you utilized that data set and created a revenue model out of it?
Sure. Um, I think making money is my daily task. It's almost of no use what PowerPoint slides or anything I produce if I'm not able to generate revenue out of it. Fortunately or unfortunately, I'm in those rooms quite often. Obviously, the models that we develop, the risk management strategies we develop, they're only as good as A, first to ensure that our customers are safe, or their funds are safe with us. And then B is to ensure how do we beat the competition. To give you some background, my group is ranked as like the top 5 prime brokers in the world right now. My manager on a daily basis asks me, how do we get to the top 3 position? What do we need to do there? Like we already know, we have the data, we know our competition, we understand our models. What do we need to do to get to the top 3 space? Having a grasp on the data is important, but also understanding the nuances of the financial services industry, understanding nuances of the economic landscape, the geopolitical risk is where we differentiate ourselves. One of the key things that we do with this data is to understand how can we help our customers leverage their portfolio in a way that it can benefit them, but also benefit us in many ways. We call this something called cross-netting. So in simple terms, it's as simple as, let's say you buy a stock of Tesla. How can we ensure that your risk profile is netted with something else? So maybe if you buy a stock of Tesla, maybe we will recommend that you buy a stock of another company that will help you offset the risk of the Tesla. So let's take Ford for an example right now, right? So if you have $100 value of stock on Tesla and then your $100 value stock of Ford, how can you offset the 2 stocks together is a proposition that we present our clients. And that's how we ensure that our clients are able to derive the best value proposition for themselves, ensuring there's no tail risks on their portfolio. They're not over leveraged in one particular stock, but we're also able to ensure that we're able to meet our goals and needs as a bank.
Thank you for highlighting that. I think one important aspect from what you mentioned is of course security layer. Being coming from banking and finance and even insurance to that matter. Whenever I talk to individuals and leaders from this industry, security compliance is always in every second sentence. It has to be there, of course, because it's all about our clients' money that we are dealing with. So it becomes the paramount or the peak of our business, and it's relevant in every aspect. And of course, when you say you want to be in top 3, this becomes really important, that this is how you differentiate. Recently I was reading an article about how Google and Amazon and Facebook could be the next biggest financial competition to banks and institutions. These giants, I mean, what will it take? Maybe a simple algorithm to create a new platform, and they are ready to go. They have the clients, they have the customers, they have access to the information where they're browsing, what they're doing, what kind of money they're spending. So the information is there, they just have to use it. So that brings us to Suresh. Suresh, can you highlight the use cases of data, like the examples that Shachi gave in her organization? From your perspective, in your experience, anything unique that you can add on to this?
So from the people space, I'm going to give you a slightly different example, right? From the stocks. So in the people space, what is becoming really important is developing a skills-based organization, right? Until now, we are not treating skills as the first-class citizen. We only treat people as first-class citizens, right? So imagine giving the end users an overview of what are the skill clusters within your organization against skill clusters for the rest of the world who are in the similar space. Let's take same example, right? Let's say there's a software company. I mean, this could apply to banking or any other company for that matter. I'm just taking software because it's native to me, right? So imagine you're building an organization. It's important to hire great talent, yes, but how close is this talent with the kind of skills that are there in the market right now, which are essential? For example, I'll take a very simple example. Let's say you have great engineer, you want to build AI. Every company wants to build AI. Let's say the skill cluster says that you have a lot of great, backend engineers in the company, but you have very little AI talent. And how would I know this, right? I mean, I can make a general statement. As part of the platform, what we tend to give to our customer is plot graphs of how your company is doing in the context of various skills across what we think is standard or what we think is standard in the industry. So if you are an investment company or if you are a banking company, these are the top skills and this is the distribution we recommend for you to be successful. This is the kind of investment people have done in different companies who are successful. So it only makes sense to learn from the data. There's a lot of thought process that went behind in these companies to make these kind of investments, right? So you cannot all of a sudden challenge saying that I'm not going to make any investment in AI talent. That's simply not going to work, right? But before this AI or before this data sets world, it's very hard for people to have this, comparative view of how I'm doing against the rest of industry from the skills standpoint, and we try to do that.
Thank you for bringing that up, Suresh. Why before this panel, I was wondering how would I bring this topic. Uh, so you bought it rightly. The reason I wanted to do this because there was a recent study on the next generation of our talent pool. I'm sure you know what is Gen Z. Gen Z from 2025, 18% of global talent pool is going to be Gen Z. So the people or the I don't want to, well, I can't alienate them. They are part of our world and they're going to be our workforce. And but the entitlement that the Gen Z has now, uh, you rightly said about skills. So it's not an individual, it's not just a person, it's not just a profile or experience, it's the skills that they bring. There was another quote that I would like to mention here. Somebody had put it on, again, on Instagram or somewhere I saw it. Said AI wants to work remotely. Now, Gen Zs could relate to this very well, because they want remote work, they want limited working hours, flexible timings, coffee breaks, no pressure from the manager. They want to start as an entry level and move to the CEO directly. So they don't like middle management. So these are some of the views that came out in that report, and I was reading it. And when I was looking internally in my organization, I was like, okay, fine. I've hired a couple of Gen Zs as interns, and I trust me, I spend a lot of time working on them with them than what I would normally do. So I said I'm going to refrain from working with them in next, at least for next couple of years. But then I got involved in Infosys Knowledge Institute, where we were working on some innovation with the Gen Zs. They are quite innovative. They have certain skill sets which could be used. So it's a matter of choice in the end, as well as it's a matter of your opinion about the next generation that's coming. So my point is, people, yes, it is important aspect of any transformation, but when we're talking about the next generation, how would you tackle? I mean, you have founders who are 22 years old running billion-dollar organizations now. Of course, they are also Gen Zs. So there are skill sets that each one possess, which we need to highlight. Very, very valid point. Thank you so much again, Suresh. Thank you for bringing that up. Uh, Sashi, would you like to add to that? Do you have any experience in working with Gen Zs?
Yeah, sure. It's an interesting topic because we're obviously like being prepared for what's to come in the future years. But the risk manager in me is looking at the tail risk and focusing on the worst case scenario here. I don't want to take this lightly, primarily because we've seen this happen already with the FTX scandal, where there was a very, very qualified person on paper who was running a multi-million billion dollar company. He went to one of the top schools in the world. He was around the smartest people in the world, and look at where he is right now. There is a lot of value in experience. And this is something personally I didn't realize when I was younger and earlier in my workforce, right? It was just like, oh, yeah, I can build models and, I should be everyone's boss. I don't think that's the right attitude. There is a huge value in experience. There's a huge value in just understanding the industry. There's a huge value in building a network of trust. The CEOs and the leaders that we have today that operate these large institutions, they've been put into place because of the level of trust that they bring. So while I am excited about Gen Z and their skills that they're bringing, and I truly hope that they have the best opportunities in the world, but we do need to have that we do need to ensure that there's safeguards in place for that.
Agree with you completely. I think Suresh can add on to that as well. In terms of the skill sets that we require for the future, Gen Zs are important, but how do we tackle this? You can say I don't call it a crisis, but it's a challenge that we need to address now. And this is one of the point of discussion that we'll be doing a lot in next 1 year. At least in next 6 months, we'll be addressing this issue that has been highlighted not at a regional level but at a global level. So it's before it becomes an endemic. So could you share your opinion on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's truth to this statement, right? I cannot dismiss that, but I think it has been always the case, right? I mean, if you think about it, if you talk to somebody who is from 80s, they'll feel people in 90s are irresponsible. If you talk to people in 90s, they'll say people in 2000s are irresponsible. I've seen this way. I mean, even in my own family, right? I mean, no matter what I do, how much I do in my life, my parents think I'm not there yet, right? So that's going to be there. But having said that, on a serious note, I think the market is going to take care of it, right? I mean, we all live in very demanding worlds, the capitalistic worlds. So you have to, make sure that your company is growing 10%, 20% quarter over quarter. Then there's no getting away from that. And I think the demand will automatically fix some of this. From the Gen Z standpoint, right? I mean, I think they bring a different perspective to the table, right? So, yes, being lazy or whatever you want to call them, yes, true. But at the same time, there's innovation that comes from that, right? I mean, for example, all the LLM based programming that I talked about is becoming quite famous. I mean, all the new startups that Gen Zs are starting, they are in the LLM slash agentic space, which means they want to, achieve more by doing less, which in turn translates to saving a lot of OPEX and CAPEX, right? So I try to think of this from a positive angle. Yes, I know the market and the rest will take care.
I partially agree with you. There was a quote which I read very early in my career that if you want something innovative to happen or you want the shortest route to a solution, give it to a lazy person.
Yes.
Because he doesn't want to work hard, so he'll come up with the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, this is there, but we need senior leaders to handhold these Gen Zs. We need senior leaders to take care of the next workforce and guide them with their experience, share their experience, and make sure they are ready for the future. Because the growth that we see now, as you rightly mentioned, one statement that you made that every month we need a 20% growth. Sometimes senior leaders say, okay, we need to do 10x, 20x month on month. Now that kind of I don't call it a greed, but it's something that we never saw 15, 20 years ago. It was steady growth, sustainable growth is what was aimed, but now it's fast growth. We want everything yesterday. We want that approach is sometimes, from what I see, is is also prone to failure. The biggest example is FTX, as mentioned by Shachi. Too fast a growth and not sustainable and not futuristic. That brings to a point of leadership engagement.
Yeah.
Senior leaders who have decades of experience, even when we are doing our new project analysis or we are implementing a new project and we want some buy-in from a leadership, from your perspective, in your experience, how easy or difficult it is to get leadership buy-in for any technology-based products that you or solutions that you're trying to build. Let me give a little perspective from my end before we dig into it. I spent a lot, about 15 years in Middle East. And this was when there was no Burj Khalifa, there was no tallest building in the world. It was pretty much like building from scratch. So while I was working there, I was in the same industry. One thing that we saw that Arabs or the sheikhs, they always bought what they could touch and feel. If what it means is if they saw a Ferrari and they could feel it, touch it, they would pay millions for it. But when it comes to software or conferences or events or anything which they cannot touch and feel, it was difficult to sell. So that's where leadership buy-in was, and I think it still exists a little bit when it comes to very senior leaders who manage probably 10, 20 companies. Are there, they are on the board of multiple organizations. So getting approval from them, how critical it has become now when we need everything yesterday. So starting with Chachi, leadership engagement, how do we do it?
I think fortunately in the banking space, it's been quite easy. I think the senior leadership does understand to have the strategic growth that they've planned, they need to have technology buy-in. Technology is still seen as a cost and not as something that's like a revenue, unfortunately, but that remains true for like any industry that you work in. An interesting example I can think of is one of the top hedge funds in the world. They're called Renaissance Capital.
Mhm.
And in the 1990s, this fund, the manager was hiring a lot of IT people and a lot of PhD in physics people. And everyone was sort of looking at them and being like, why does a fund manager need physics people and like IT people in the 90s? They didn't get it. Today, they're like the top two hedge funds in the world. They've only been able to do what they've been able to do because of the support of technology. And it's only people have been replicating their models, and they were sort of the drivers in the quantitative finance space. So in the banking space, in the finance world, people do understand the value of technology. In fact, more recently, there has even been regulations that have been developed specifically to banking technology systems. So we are audited quite heavily by our Federal Reserve, by the SEC, by Bank of England. And we can see that the regulators are also understanding our systems better. They're asking better questions, they're enforcing better standards. So things are just getting better, but technology is still a cost to the business, but it's definitely a driver of innovation.
Thank you for highlighting that. Suresh, your opinion on this?
It's a very important question, right? Leadership engagement. Thanks for this topic. In the world of software industry, right, it has been a little rough, right? Let me tell you why. The kind of growth of technology is humongous, right? I mean, every 5 years, the kind of technologies people are using and people are adopting to achieve greatness is continuously changing. And nobody the is upskilling the leaders, right? At many companies now, as we speak in Bay Area, the leaders, managers, directors, VPs are asked to go hands on and learn AI and agentic architectures in general, right? I mean, if I think about it from a different view angle, how would you manage projects, AI projects, if the leaders don't understand how to build AI systems, right? At that point, they'll be simply doing project management and nothing else, right? And the new generation of technologies is just going to come. So the leadership engagement is pretty positive in terms of adapting new technologies, no doubt there. But at the same time, I wanted to highlight the fact that every leader has to be upskilled with the latest technologies once in a while, at least once every 2 years, to understand the new state of things, and not just at theoretical level, right? I mean, the goal, the mantra here now every day is, I mean, if you listen to Musk's of the world, they are saying that pure people managers are myth, right? I mean, he wants everybody to go hands on and do everything. He wants people to go to industry and contribute. Same thing with Meta, right? They remove bunch of middle managers, and they wanted to make sure everybody is contributing directly to the success of the product. And that is the fastest way to get leadership engagement, because the moment leaders are involved in ground learning these new technologies, and they will start encouraging the bottom up innovation, and everything will just be streamlined. That's my take on it.
Spot on, I must say. This is exactly what we've been hearing. But I think that, different regions have different takes on it. If you're talking about North America very specifically, this is the right use case, and this is happening where leadership is actually going hands-on. When it comes to Europe, there have been leaders who have taken a step back, where they said, "I will tell you what to do. I will create the strategy, and you do it. But don't get me involved." Like, that's what we've seen in Asia. It's completely opposite. Leaders are actually learning right from LLM models to tech stacks to understanding what coding is, and really getting into it. And then they are coming up with solutions which probably the new engineers or software engineers could not figure out. So the different region, different perspective, different outlook. But in the end, if leadership is not involved and engaged in your digital transformation journey, it is just a test that they're giving you, and it is a test of failure. So this is what I've heard and I've seen, where there were projects assigned, and within 3 months said, "Okay, we have spent enough. This let's move on." So leadership buy-in before we get into that is important. Next is
Just one,
effectiveness. Yep, go ahead. Go ahead,
just
Sasha.
one point that it's also about like expectation management, right? Like ensuring that you're setting expectations with leaders and being like, hey, you're not going to see a return on investment in 3 months. You're going to see it in 3 years. And setting that tone right to ensure that you're sort of not ruffling any feathers is key. That's something that's like helped me personally a lot to differentiate between what's a short-term return on investment versus a long-term return on investment.
Agree. So certain projects, yes, you need a long-term buy-in, and then that's how it's taken. Now, when we speak about AI, agentic AI, and what's happening, if you see last year, when we were sitting in 2023 December, AI ChatGPT was just there, and see where we are now. Within a year, the growth that it has seen was not seen in the last 5 years. So within next 6 months, when ChatGPT 5 or ChatGPT 6, Gemini 2, Vasa, Microsoft, when they are coming in picture, Vasa is just around the corner. They are, in the US, it's announced that it's hidden, it's not accessible. But one of well, a friend of mine, he sent a GitHub link which I could access it, and I played with it. It's amazing. I mean, the things that you can create with that AI tool, it's your imagination, and that tool, you can do wonders. So within next couple of months, within first half of January, I think you will see a lot of new systems, technologies that are going to come in place. Google is tweaking their Gemini 2.0 to Gemini 3 very, very soon, which will be the backend of most of our systems in place if you're using Google Workspace. Microsoft Azure has come up with their own system, a tool called HubSpot. They have their own agent, internal agent for internal reports, where it could just, you just have to tell them. You don't even have to type. You ask, and it will give you an answer. So yes, it is. We need to give them a long-term goal, but again, there has to be a short-term implication where we can say, okay, fine, let's test it, let's see it, let's have a trial period, and short-term 3 months, 6 months, and then 3 years, 5 years down the line. Finance, due to policies changing annually or in every 5 years, could be a challenging aspect. But other industries, automotive is changing really fast. Utilities are adapting very quickly, more than anticipated. They are really adapting to the newer technologies. Even B2B, B2C transactions. If you are aware, within India, we have something called UPI, Unified Payment Interface, which is launched in France, it's in Germany, it's in Singapore. So the interface has gone global, and we can send money on our WhatsApp through our so with the security layer, of course, it connects with your bank, and within seconds you can do a transaction. The same is going to happen for B2B. uh, right now, for B2B transactions between us, between India, Singapore, India to Malaysia, India to Sri Lanka, is instantly. We don't have to wait for a couple of days or even 24 hours. The moment you send a transaction, the wire transfer is instant. So we are reducing the size of the world. I mean, it's getting closer and closer. So the next topic that I wanted to cover was the effectiveness of technology. Uh, how can we, of course, not just get our management buy-in, not just make our life or our work easy, but how do we effectively make sure it has a tangible effect on our customers, on our stakeholders, on our business overall. So what is the effectiveness of any digital transformation is what I want to ask. And how do you measure it? What are the key measuring points? So Shachi, for you, effectiveness of.
I think, yeah, I think that's a very interesting question because I think answering how you measure effectiveness is important to understand where we're going. It's sort of like your North Star. Unless you know what you're measuring, it's like hard to know if you're having any impact. Luckily for us in the banking world, it's your dollar value. It's pretty simple. Have we impacted the customer in a positive way or a negative way? Have we increased our revenues, decreased our costs? Things are much simpler, but in terms of like measuring the effectiveness of technology, it's also like the cost of investment, right? There's a huge cost, not only in maintaining the existing systems, but also in deploying new systems, ensuring they're integrated properly, ensuring that we have the workforce in place to support those systems, just keeping the lights on even. It takes a lot of investment. So measuring the cost of that in association with the revenue that's generating is something that we do on almost a weekly basis to ensure that we're in line. At the same time, again, putting my risk manager hat on, right? What is the cost of not doing that business? What is the cost of not updating my technology? What is the cost of not upskilling my workforce? Is also something that we look at very candidly within our boardrooms and meetings. And just ensuring, competition analysis is like a great benchmark for us. Looking across the street, looking at what the other banks are doing and ensuring we are ahead of our competition is how we effectively manage our costs and ensure that technology is the driver.
Great. I mean, I know you mentioned this before that you'll not be able to share a lot of sensitive information, but thank you so much for sharing some of the boardroom talks that you've been having. And for our audience who's listening, who's not part of boardrooms, I think this is an eye opener for them. I mean, they will be able to be ready when they are proposing something in their organization. Over to you, Suresh, for in terms of the effectiveness of any digital transformation project.
Yeah, so great answer, Sachi. I'll try to add on to that, right? Fortunately, measuring success with these transformations is very easy, right? At least in enterprise world. So again, at the end of the day, they care about increased effectiveness of their operations and reduced dollar amount, whether it is capex or opex, right? So in general, the adoption has been the highest in the enterprise software, right? Because even if you think of any enterprise platform that is offering AI solutions, the main objective is how can you do more with less number of people, less amount of time, etc. Right? All of this are directly translating to saving money. And even within the organizations who are building these enterprise products, we can use very straightforward metrics like what is the throughput, how many features you shipped on average per month, right? We should see a tremendous improvement with this technology advancements, and at the same time keeping the quality bar very high. We cannot ask AI to do all the business logic and make sure that customers are filing tickets left and right? That's never going to work, especially in the enterprise world. So keep making sure that your quality is the same with or without the AI, and making sure that your throughput kind of doubles, quadruples, 10x. I mean, you can keep your numbers, right? That is a very simple, effective measure from the product creator standpoint, because this will also directly translate to money saving, right? I mean, if you're able to do 10x in a given month, you need less number of engineers. You just have to hire 10x engineers and make them productive. And at the same time, in the enterprise organization, they can measure their effectiveness just with throughput and quality of service they are receiving from this product, right? I mean, fortunately, the world of measurement is very easy.
Thank you so much for saying that. It is easy, but imagine you're measuring on Excel sheet.
Yeah. Hopefully enterprises are not doing that.
Exactly. So the tools that you use matters, which is in this case we were talking about AI, ML, LLM. So if you have the right tools, life can be easy. So we would like to end the session. I just want a couple of pointers from both of you. Just give me some pros and cons of AI, ML. Simple. I mean, just couple of or one or two, whatever you think are the top most positive sides and negative sides. Shachi, from you.
Sure. I think AI and ML are definitely interesting topics to explore in the next coming years. We've already been adopting a lot of AI technology within our firm. The positives definitely are things get done faster. There's definitely a more focus on data quality analysis and data fitting. The cons are obviously what is the data that we're feeding into these models, as well as ensuring our customers' data is secure. We don't want to expose this data to models that are going to spread this around. So ensuring customer safety is definitely key for us. But also ensuring that we have a competitive edge, if I have an AI model and the bank across the street has the same AI model, I don't have a competitive edge. So how do I maintain that competitive edge, keeping these tools in mind, but also tailoring them to my specific needs?
Thank you so much for highlighting that. Suresh?
Yeah. AI and ML are not silver bullets, right? They are your companions. We just have to learn using this technology's tools, just like how we were using the rest of the technologies for all these years, right? That is why I really like the word called co-pilot, right? I mean, they want us to think like as if this is a co-pilot, right? I mean, it's not a replacement for the pilot. This is replacement for the co-pilot, right? Let me put it that way. Yes, there is OPEX reduction because you are reducing one pilot, but you still can't, remove the pilot, right? That's the idea. So how do you use AI, embrace AI to make sure that you as an individual can do a lot more things? And the same thing with customer, right? I mean, as a customer, how can they do a lot more things by adapting this technology is the positive part that I see. The negative part is people are assuming that this is a silver bullet and this can do everything. There's a lot AI and ML has not matured into, for example, security, right? I mean, imagine a world of conversational analytics. The first thing people will ask is, what is my boss's salary, right? I mean, how do you have frameworks to prevent that, right? It's not easy. In the world of APIs, in the world of simple technologies that we are used to till now, the strong sense of security that's developed everywhere. But whenever permission boundaries are involved, I think people have to use AI with a pinch of salt. So use AI, embrace AI, otherwise you'll be out of the game, but it's not a silver bullet.
Very well said, Suresh. Thank you so much. That summarizes our overall session. And thank you so much, Sachi, for joining us today, and Suresh for taking time off your busy schedule. It was enlightening, and I really enjoyed this session because it was so open, and we were not bound to a particular topic or discussion, and we were just talking what comes to our mind. And I love having such conversation. It was really enlightening for me. I'm sure the same is for our audience who's listening to us now. The recording of this webinar is going to be available throughout the year. Everybody who's registered will get an email, and we'll continuously promote this throughout the year, and people will be able to listen to this, and they will be able to connect with you as well on LinkedIn, which is our preferred social media platform. Thank you so much again, Suresh and Sachi, for taking time and joining us. I look forward to seeing you soon, probably in May in Orlando, where we are doing our physical event on business transformation and operational excellence. And I again look forward to seeing you and meeting you and working with you.
You guys.
Thank you very much, and thank you for hosting this wonderful session. It was really fun being on this with you.
Same here, Sachi.
Bye.
Thank you, Suresh.
Thank
you,
you.
Sachi. Thank you. Bye-bye.